Welcome to Star Citizen and the news update. With the current and larger roadmap roundup, as well as the monthly report, there was not only a status update, but also partial realignments and modifications of the general roadmap for the development of Star Citizen, as well as the single-player extension 42 were announced. And there were some interesting news here, which are not only in the far future. Therefore, we summarized the new roadmap and the monthly report, which is also directly related to it. In fact, extensions of the development team have recently become known from various sources and directions, which now also lead to a new orientation of the roadmap. From a global perspective, some priorities have been shifted and adjusted, which gives us a clearer picture of the new future of Star Citizen. A few weeks ago, we already reported in the Gentleman News about the official announcement that with Firesprite, a new development team could be won, which is actively working with about 10 employees on the further development and implementation of Theaters of War, whereby there was already a current playtest for Evocatis. Verifiable information about the progress and status of Theaters of War is not yet available, and the leaks from the testers range from good performance with some innovations compared to the last test to devastating statements about performance and enhancements. As a fact in the area of Theaters of War, however, it remains to be noted that the responsible development team has been significantly expanded with Firesprite, and the development for this game mode is being actively pushed forward. Because Theaters of War is not only just a game mode, many of the mechanics required there are also necessary for Squadron 42 and the Persistent universe. It is also fitting that the Arena Commander will be supported by this team in the future and that the Arena Commander itself will soon be updated. And most recently, CIG signed a contract for extensive office space in Frankfurt, Germany, where the Foundry 42 team, which is mainly responsible for new ships and vehicles, had already reached their limits of its capacity of office space. So here too we can report an expansion, which is probably also have an effect on personnel. And these personnel connections, initially considered apart from the roadmap update, already lead us to assume a direction, as the focus of the most recently implemented mechanics and announcements have also indicated. Towards ground maps, vehicles and the implementation of these in a common system. So actually everything that is needed in the short term for Theaters of War and ultimately in the medium term for Squadron 42. But we will look at this focus, which is apparent in the updated roadmap, as well as the prioritization of all directly required mechanics and game functions in detail piece by piece, and talk about the background. About the new roadmap itself, first of all, the interface itself has been revised and a search function and visual improvements have been added. You can explore the details via the direct link, but it's still a roadmap, albeit a pretty one. But here is one of the most interesting features of the roadmap, which was probably not planned by CIG. We'll take a detailed look at what this means, what additional information we can gain from it later on. But let's take a look at the new features, whereby we will first look at some areas that have been deleted or postponed for the time being, before we go into the new points as well as the directly derivable upcoming content. Because with a view to the prioritized goal, even the features that were initially deleted make more sense than they would be inappropriate. Our first victim of the deletion is the Grimhex races. Although expected by many fans, but not relevant for the currently prioritized game mechanics and thus dispensable, the racing mechanics around Grimhex have been put on ice for the time being. The Prison System version 3. The prison system of the third expansion stage is also affected, although we have been experiencing major bugs here again and again for several versions. However, this is also not a priority. We are also saying goodbye to the dynamic population, the adjusted generation of NPCs in its own, a feature that requires more effort and would have enabled us to create a more immersive NPC game world. And directly related to this, we won't be seeing NPC ships flying around in the verse anytime soon, except of course for the known mission objects or the security forces. Ultimately, a living verse we are thus postponing. Bounty hunting is one of the most popular game mechanics, which however only made a big leap with the last version and has already been further developed with the newly implemented reputation system and can be classified as well playable. Therefore, the postponement of version 2 is not quite as tragic, even though I would have liked to see this improvement. The Mission Manager app and the notification system has also been stopped for the time being, which means that 2 comfort functions are no longer available. And under organization perks and benefits, we would have had the opportunity to structure and organize ourselves better in the team and to draw active benefits from it. Likewise, the first water physics are not to be expected for the time being. And at this point, I would like to say that no real core functions and mechanics have been removed, but rather extensions of existing functions or comfort areas, which we do not necessarily need for Squadron 42 or Theaters of War. But even for the persistent universe, the functions are not core features for the time being or have priority. But what is new on the roadmap? By the end of 2021, we will find, among other things, 3 large areas which in turn require iCache and server meshing, which had already made progress recently. And it is precisely here that the most important innovations are hidden, because with the first iCache and then also server meshing, true game changers are announced until the end of 2021. To what extent there will be delays is of course not foreseeable, but on my personal impression is, among other things due to the continuation of less relevant core features, that the new priority is on these important core mechanics, especially since most points of the roadmap require these function core mechanics. Officially, of course, everything is soon TM. The new announcements of the roadmap are therefore anything but trifles. For a real hammer is the implementation of the personal hangar and HAPS mechanics, whereby the hangar feature, since the first years of development, was always on the wish list and the promised features. Here we can equip and decorate our various hangars, which are included in the game packages and ships, and create our own kind of area. However, it is currently questionable what this implementation will look like and whether we will be able to fully use our own hangar in the persistent universe. Can we invite other players here? Will a hangar serve as a spawn location? Does the personal hangar exist everywhere? Many questions are still open here. The persistent HAPS also go into this direction, our own living areas, which we can only set up and use in a rudimentary way at first, but which nevertheless represent our first real home in the verse. The forerunner of our own base, so to speak. Directly linked to these new mechanics is the possibility to load our cargo completely autonomously and manually. In other words, the possibility of arranging our cargo space as we need or want it. And the first question that naturally arises for me here is whether we can also overload our cargo hold in this way? And this is where the, well, let's say interesting trolleys and of course the tractor tools, which we have already seen, come in. The third major innovation is selling. By selling our inventory to traders, we have a direct and credible possibility to turn found items into UAC, which has an effect in many areas. Among other things, we can use it to sell weapons and multi-tools we have collected in FPS missions for a profit and thus gain an additional advantage from a ground mission. And here we are only at the beginning of the possibilities with this simple but important feature. Because nothing other than a first loot system is implemented here, with which we can also find items in lockers, cupboards or backpacks, and the general physical inventory and the physicalization of the items, which are also on the roadmap, will expand the loot system considerably. And of course, in the medium term, we can also expect backpacks and containers in order to be able to expand and use this system further. And before we go into the information that can be found between the lines of the new roadmap, and I don't think CIG has reckoned with the effects of the new search and sort functions here, a quick look at the new future, version 3.13 and 14. In the progress tracker we find 20 teams, most of which have been regrouped and renamed and show the respective upcoming features. With the initial patch of 3.13, some of the hotly awaited features are not yet in sight, as these will only come with the X patch, which will mostly likely be released at Invictus Week in May. Because there was already a teaser for this, and new ships and vehicles simply sell best when there is a second biggest sale of the year with events and promotions. These features include, of course, the Starlifter C2, M2, the Nova tank, ship-to-station docking and the ROC DS. Yes, the ROC DS has been officially announced with the roadmap, so to speak, and is obviously no joke. But I would recommend you to watch the dedicated review in which we go into detail about the ROC DS and the information so far. And on the subject of Invictus Week, I have a promotion of what we might see there for the very first time. In a word, Bengal! But that's just a Jack of Diamonds guess. Until the middle of year, in the area of 3.14, more features are to be implemented whereby we can again recognize a focus on theaters of war and Squadron 42 in many areas. The most important features summarized, here we directly anticipate the Squadron 42 features. Direct work on the Squadron 42 NPCs, Squadron 42 cinematics, the necessary films, cutscenes and relevant in-game films. Diverse NPC interaction systems at mission givers and in shops, whereby these should follow comprehensible actions so very similar to the basic technology of the famous barkeeper. The possibility of NPCs to move in weightlessness with the EVA. An improved targeting system for NPC, whereby they are able to use sub-targets. New NPCs like the janitor, a so-called hawker who will probably be interesting in the area of bounty hunting, or a new illegal trader who hangs around where no police can be found, will not be only interesting for Squadron 42 but also in the persistent universe. And the NPC feature mentioned are also a big part of what we would need for an AI crew. Cybernetic items and prostheses, as we already know from Reco, as well as direct work on the Vanduul armor and their equipment. And by the way, it wasn't that long ago that we saw the meal animations and techniques of the Vanduul. The Xian facial animations. And also interesting for Squadron 42 is the Hull T, one of the transport ships per excellence which we can expect in the third quarter. And more set in the persistent universe? The new Generation 12 renderer, which will be replaced the DirectX 11 base and bring graphical improvements and performance. The work has begun on salvaging Tier 1. The star map and radar system rework, which will have a significant impact. The Akiro cluster, which contains high-value minerals, but it says to be dangerous, so new materials for miners. The new locations and updates to known locations and structures. The Hangar Manager app, which offers the full functionality of the current terminals, and we can then spawn our ships there and equip them directly. The vending machines. Functioning vending machines where we can buy items. The Constellation Taurus is about to be released, but you can count on it until 3.14. Horizon, the main city of Crusader, as well as the new version of Crusader itself, are in active development and are making good progress, so we can expect a trip to Horizon soon. And volumetric cloud tech has also made major progress here. The famous Space Whale on Crusader, which will be one of the first creatures, is also on the roadmap and in active development. And work is also on the way for the first outpost, AI basis, the Colonial Outpost. The backend technology for multiple systems is a big thing here again, one of the core requirements for Pyro and other systems. But also work on the exploration gameplay in the form of the first probes which can be sent on their journey by us, new locations like the settlement at the Javelin wreck, new interactive objects like fruits and collectibles, and of course various hazards whereby creatures or environmental influences are possible here. And also all previous crash sites will be improved and expanded. The already presented mining gadgets will also come, but details are not yet known. Extensive enhancements to lighting, existing environments and places, as well as the implementation of the new hospitals are well advanced, and we are one step closer to medical gameplay, for which there was little new information. And of course, the corresponding medical NPC staff is also in the works. But as promised, we'll take a look at the information that can be found between the lines, and which you can of course take a look at yourself by using the search and sort function of the new roadmap, You will find the direct link in the video description. As an example, we can filter upcoming ships and vehicles and sort them by name, which gives us some clues as to what might be behind the unannounced ships and vehicles. After all, there are not that many ship manufacturers. And in connection with the necessary tasks and working teams, this information becomes even more concrete. And so I'll let your analytic skills run free here, without giving any direct spoilers. However, I would like to show you why I think that we might see the RSI Bengal in the game for the first time at the Invictus event. Or, of course, it's just a coincidence that these tasks end right on time. I hope you enjoyed the video and leave me a like and maybe even a subscribe here. The development seems to be picking up speed and especially the prioritization of necessary core features. So the picture becomes clearer and clearer, in which we see focus on the completion of Squadron 42 on the one hand, as well as long-time, well-known features like iCache and server meshing, which are getting closer and closer. But what is your opinion? Is it a good direction to go in? Are you interested in Squadron 42? Feel free to write your opinions and comments under the video or in the Discord. But the most important thing at the end, a big thank you to all Patreons, channel members and Twitch subscribers. You are a huge motivation, and without you the whole thing wouldn't be possible in this form. Thank you guys, you rock! And of course there are various giveaways for April. You can find out which ones in the Discord and how you can participate there. On YouTube, in the Twitch streams, in the Discord and all other channels. You can take something. I say goodbye until next time. And say as always, see you in the verse.